Do we have to be worried about aeroplanes manufactured by Boeing? Is there any hint of a worry? Reason being that, I don't know, maybe it's me, but I seem to get a sense that most accidents in recent times have been in Boeing planes. Is there any worry at all?
Thank you. That brings me to the point I wanted to make.
Yes.
In the design of aircrafts, you have two major players and a third one on the wing, the Chinese.
Yes.
You have Boeing, you have Airbus. Then there are some secondary. There's Embraer, there's Bombardier, etc. But the two major manufacturers are Boeing and Airbus. And what happens is that in their design philosophy, the design of the aircraft, Boeing believes that the supreme decision about the operation of the aircraft should be done by men and women. So basically, humans make the decision. Whereas in the Airbus philosophy, the design is that the machine is smart enough to make the final and most critical decision. So those decisions will be left to the machine. So what then happens in an emergency, in some of these critical situations, is that it's either people are going to make decisions and make errors, or machines will make the decisions and make errors. You cannot say absolutely which one is better. In the recent incident we've had, let me take the very famous Max accident. The Max accident was caused by a new design in the Boeing. So Boeing maintained the design of one famous and the most used aircraft in the world, the 737, and continued to modify it, stretch it, put bigger engine. When they got to the Max, the question was, the engine required to power that airplane was so heavy that in maintaining the wing configuration, they had to create a software solution that compensated for the design. So we can't change the plane. We don't want to change the plane. We do not want to change the wings. But what we'll do is we'll create software that aerodynamically makes the adjustments required to make the airplane fly in the required air frame or aerodynamic configuration. That software failed in all of the Max incidents. But the question is, if humans were in control and they saw that the machine was doing the wrong thing, were they trained? That's the real question that arose. Were they trained adequately to make the right decisions to compensate for the machine? Or do we go by the Airbus model, if this was an Airbus, where the software is already wrong and it is going to do the wrong thing regardless? This is the critical question when we talk about who is better in managing safety, man or machine. The machine is already wrong from the get-go, and that's the design that followed from those incidents. And man was supposed to make the adjustment when the machine failed. But so your question is, none is better. Aviation is safe. This is the first accident in an airplane that's been around for more than a decade. So the machines are safe, but there is no such thing as absolute safety. Something will go wrong, and what aviation does is learn from those things. So it is not a matter of when you see Boeing on your air booking, you say, no, I want an Airbus.
I was almost getting to that point where I'd ask my...
We already have a shortage of aircraft that we don't have that option.
I was almost getting to that point where I'd insist that, look, as we won't book me, make you book me for Airbus, I beg. Because apart from what you just said, I think it's also... There's an indication that Boeing also has some other management and whatever problems. Whether it translates to that or not, I don't know. But I'm a regular YouTube person. I like seeing reviews of planes and so on and so forth. And in recent times, like in the past 365 days, there have been complaints galore about Air India in terms of the cleanliness of the cabin. Sometimes there was one flight that the air conditioner didn't work or something like that. There have been complaints about the minor little things. I'm one of those who believes that if you don't pay attention to the little things, the bigger things will pass you by. Is there any nexus between this and the crash that happened?
Well, one thing you have to be certain of is that if you fly Air India, you probably cannot escape the smell of curry in the cabin.
Oh, God.
And so, it now depends on how much you like curry and garlic. So, but you're right. It's always about the little things. And I keep emphasizing that. I always walk by and I see my domestic staff who walk past paintings that are a 1 degree angle. And I try to teach them that until you get the little things right, you will never get the big things right. And so that is the situation. But, air conditioners break down on many flights, We've had Dana where the door opened on landing, and you...
Well, I was coming to Dana because I think Dana then was owned by, or the airline was promoted by Indians. And so...
Would that be a coincidence?
When you put these things together, is there any need to worry? I'd like you to put our mind at rest that it's just a coincidence. And it's not just the air conditioner. Seats torn, cabin, the upper luggage, whatever. One of them keep falling open, not properly locked. And the
air track.
The air track, yes. I don't know these terms. I don't know where I put my load off. And little complaints. If the food, name it.
But
is there a need to worry? Yes.
If you put sardines in a can,
yes,
they only have to sit there until somebody opens the can. It's the same thing, When you get on board an airplane, you pray. The first thing you do is you sit in your seat and pray. But you're always comforted by the fact that the safety record is superior to any other. It is more dangerous to go by car. It is even more dangerous to walk on the street or ride a bicycle. Flying is safe. It is not something you have to worry about. And I make that joke of the sardines, is that once you get on board, you have no opinion to the captain. There's no opinion to the first officer. You just have to trust on the quality of the airline that you choose. There's an issue around quality of the airline that you choose. And it would lead probably to further discussions on other subjects. But I assure you, flying is safe, and it's still the safest means of transportation. The regulators are on top of their game, and we should never worry when we get onto an airplane.
Okay, let me...
Absolutely, yes. I think I agree with him there, that the regulators are on top of the game. Air transport is the safest, and I don't want us to have this erroneous impression of equating safety issues with Indians. That's not a fact. Again, Air India is a very old airline that was once owned by government and now has now been bought over. They tried a long time to see who could buy it. Finally, the Tata family came up and they've invested in the airline. The aircraft in question is not an old aircraft; it's a new aircraft. And in the industry, we hate to speculate. But let's be patient and wait for the investigators. Luckily, they've gotten the severe and the other recorders that can be used to investigate. And what I liked about Airbus issued a statement and said safety is paramount and it's not a time for anybody to look at competitive advantage, but it's time to rally around and ensure that the industry is safe for all travelers.
But why did they have to say that? Could that be a political statement?
Well, it was.
It could be sarcastic.
They are the Paris air show, and the first question they threw at the Airbus man was that aircraft accident, and he just came up and to quickly defend and not make it look as if we are going to use that as a marketing tool.
Survived. How did that happen? Is it something? Should I refer it to any of the pastors that I know, or can you give a technical explanation? How did that guy survive?
The first question I asked when this incident happened was,
where
was he sitting? We have found historically that the safest place, I know the seat number, the safest place to sit in an aircraft is over the wings or at the tail. Because an airplane coming down will hit usually nose first. And so the greatest impact will be in the expensive business and first class section, and then usually the tail would follow. If you look at this incident and many other incidents, this is what typically happens. So I believe that he was just fortunate for 241 people to die and one person to survive. It just wasn't his time.
We need to refer it to the pastors. It's not an aviation thing. It's not. But what also surprised me, Olumide, is that the guy was said to have just stood up and, Yeah,
well, like Alex said, it was hit by the overwing, and when the aircraft landed and broke, it was easy for him to come out because the overwing door had pulled out. And like he said when he opened his eyes, he just saw the corpses of the cabin crew that were in front of him and his fellow passengers. He just pushed them away and stepped out of the aircraft and walked away. And that was how he walked away. And if you see, look at that video again, they were trying to hold him, was just waving everybody away. But
yes, he must have been in a state of shock.
Yes, and today he's still in the hospital.
Do you think that guy will ever fly again?
Well, he should. That's what
he certainly will.
But it's going back to London.
Will.
It's going back to London. It's not based in India.
Friends.
It's going back to London. It's going back to London. So he will definitely fly again.